Newfoundland, Canada's most eastern province. Although it is our most recently added province, it is rich in history and a geological wonder to be explored. And that we did. Our first day started off rough. We were up early before the sun to get our butts to the airport to catch our very early flight. Not everyone was ready to go when we needed to leave, but our driver made up the time and got us there with enough time to get through security and find our gate. We boarded our plane and then we sat and waited while they fought with the back maintenance door to get it closed. It took 45 minutes for them to get the door to stay closed, and the pilot was not impressed with the state of the plane, but he deemed it good enough for this flight and got us to Montreal in record time.
Serrez la ceinture contre vos hanches. Pour défaire, levez la partie mobile de la boucle et tirez. On vous suggère de regarder la carte de sécurité qui se trouve dans la pochette devant vous. Si vous avez des questions durant le vol, n'hésitez pas à demander. Merci et bon vol.
This was the Fishers' first plane ride, and although they were nervous, having issues with the plane did not help those nerves. They made it through and even enjoyed most of the day. This was the first time I had flown in 5 years, and I was not sure if I would love it as much as I had in the past. I have become very accustomed to road trips and the freedom of a more flexible timeline and the ability to move on a whim, but I do also miss being able to soar above the clouds and the hustle of finding your way across oceans and borders. The delay left us feeling frantic as we only had 35 minutes to get ourselves through the Montreal airport to find our next gate. And we, of course, had to use the bathroom as well. But luck was on our side, as our next plane had not even arrived yet, so we were facing another delay. This meant we had a little time to breathe between flights and get some snacks and gravel. The final flight left late, but also made up some time and got us to our final destination in St. John's, safe, sound, and only a little later than originally predicted. We finally touched down in Newfoundland and waited outside the airport for our rental car. It isn't the fanciest of cars, but it's big enough to fit us all and will hopefully get us around the island for the next 5 days. After the long flight and all the chaos that came with it, we felt that first thing we would do would be find somewhere to have lunch and sit and breathe for a moment. We found a place called Wing It and headed there. We pretty much had the place to ourselves as it was mid-afternoon. We absolutely loved it there. The service was warm and friendly, and the food was delicious. 10 out of 10 for sure. After we filled ourselves on wings and chips, we headed to a grocery store to stock up and then to our Airbnb to settle in. It had been a long day, so we were excited to get somewhere and just be able to rest and chill. When we arrived, we were amazed. The house was beautiful and the view even more stunning. This place is the perfect spot to set up base as we go out each day to explore more of this gorgeous island. Not only does it have everything we need for a fun and restful time, it is the most amazing backdrop for just being still and receiving all this magical place has to offer.
To you. Now, we gotta do that 43 more times.
Day 2 started off much better than yesterday. We all got to sleep in and take our time getting up and getting ready. I watched the locals coming in off the ocean with their catches. Dale made us a delicious breakfast. And then we set out to visit the town of Dildo. It was a quaint little fishing village with a nice ma and pop store, beautiful and active harbor, and a sweet park. We made our way down to the Dildo boat tours and got out on the water for a chance to catch some fish.
We're gonna need lettuce.
What are you doing, Cooper? What are you doing? It was not the best time to be out fishing though, as all the cod were moving too fast, chasing the smaller fish, and commercial fishing season had opened at midnight the night before, or that day I guess. The only fish we caught, Dale reeled in, but it was the captain that hooked it. There were only 4 fish caught on the boat total, so we only got to bring 2 home, as we were one of 2 groups on the tour. It was still a fun experience. We got to learn how to jig for fish, see more in Newfoundland from the ocean, and we even got to see a whale. When we got back into the harbor, we went to the restaurant and were served an order of fish and chips each. That's one of the risks of doing excursions that involve nature, is there's never any guarantee and anything can happen. Or nothing at all. We then headed back to our Airbnb to rest up, as some were still feeling the effects of the previous travel day and the boat trip. Dale barbecued us dinner, and we spent the rest of the night playing games. tried to roast marshmallows over the fire for s'mores, but the wind was too intense and it was almost impossible to get them roasted. So we gave up and went back inside for another game of Skip-O. It's so nice here and the bugs are pretty much non-existent that we could leave the patio doors open to enjoy the outdoors while still somewhat sheltered from the high winds. Day 3 started very much like day 2. We all slept in a bit and took our time getting going. Dale made us another delicious breakfast and we all got ready to go. As we walked out the door though, we noticed that our rental had a flat tire. It's not a vacation with me without a vehicle issue of some sorts. Our neighbor brought over his air hose and we got the tire inflated enough to get us to the local garage that he recommended to us. About 7 minutes on the other side of the bay, we drove to John's garage and got the tire looked at. They poured over 4 liters of water over it and could not find a leak anywhere, so we put the tire back on and will now have to keep an eye on it. We got back to the house and everyone loaded in and we finally got on the road to St. John's. Jen's free coffee. Today we were headed to the easternmost point of Canada. Cape Spear was so much fun to explore. We traversed the cliffs, toured the lighthouse, and investigated the tunnels. This is a must-do when visiting this province, and we have to agree.
September 1st, 1941. Weather. Fun. Number D77467, Gunner Mayo W.H., was drowned in approximately 1,500 hours. He had finished dumping garbage over the cliffs and was standing watching the waves breaking on the shore when he lost his footing and was swept in. It was impossible to save him. May 10th, 1945. Weather. Good. Cape Spear received the order to stand down this morning. June 29th, 1945. Weather. Fine. foggy and rain, visibility 0. Battery proceeded to transit camp, leaving Cape Spear, Fort Amherst, and Fort Chain Rock as it remembers them. Cold, clammy, foggy, and miserable.
We then made our way into the downtown area to find somewhere to eat. We settled on the Crown and had a tasty meal. We then walked around a bit and did a little shopping. We didn't stay too long as the city was not exactly our vibe, so we headed out and back to a more rural area that we preferred to be in. Once back at our Airbnb, we had a cornhole tournament on the deck overlooking the beautiful bay. This was one of the things about this Airbnb that some of us were looking forward to, and we had a lot of fun competing against each other.
It's going to be a competition at the family reunion. Whoa!
Oh, we should bring Cooper games. She's down with someone game.
Yeah, watch your touch. Wally has jobs. On mine?
It only matters.
Oh, yes! No! Is this the right length they're supposed to be apart?
I don't want to say so because the deck boards are there. I think it's 8 feet apart. I think it might be 10.
Yes! Oh, you got 1 point! Yes! 3-2.
Dale then cooked up our fish from our excursion yesterday for supper with a chicken stir fry. There wasn't a lot of fish. We then ended the night with a few more rounds of Skippo. The day started off a bit rough, but it turned around and was another fantastic day here in this beautiful province.
Yeah, you don't have to eat the skin. It just comes off.
Day 4 started off a bit more smooth than the previous day. We all got up and had breakfast and then headed out to explore the area just north of us. We began with a tour of the Cupid Legacy Museum that told the story of the first English settlers in Newfoundland. It was very interesting to hear the stories and see more of our country and ancestors' history that led to us being here as residents of this country.
This harbor is 3 leagues distance from Colliers and is preferred by me to begin our plantation.
3 pieces of ordnance, 30 muskets, and 3 fowling pieces.
Dilly dilly, I shall be queen. Call up your man, dilly dilly, set them to work. Some to the plow, dilly dilly, some to the fall.
Ooh, cod cheeks.
April 17th, 1613.
We then went down to the excavation site where the settlement was discovered, along with all the artifacts that made up the museum. We got a guided tour around the site and a lot more of the history of this turning point in this land's story.
And George. So George was the Saint Patron of England all the way back then. And John Gunn and his men flew the same flag. So then down here's our cemetery. There are 10 graves here total. And this was actually found purely by accident. So there actually used to be a backup pile of dirt here. And one day one of the diggers noticed a metal grate underneath. They went to pull it out and there was a headstone. Yep.
That went to toilet.
I'll tell you, there are thimbles, there are pipes, there are beads, there are clasps, there are buckles, and then there are coins as well.
I'm going over in that corner. I'll trade you for $1. Not. I don't have one. I'll trade you for a rock.
You found something else is picking.
Then it was lunchtime. While on the boat for our fishing experience, the guide and the other passengers told us we must try Mad Rock Cafe for some authentic Newfoundlander food. So, since we were in the area, we decided to give it a go. It was a small place with a small menu, but the food was largely delicious. We tried touton, cod cakes, and fish and brewis. Some of us were more satisfied than others, but it was still an experience worth the drive.
I've somehow become a problem.
We then tried to get some beach time at Salmon Cove Beach, which we were told was a must-see. The sand was soft, gray, and warm, and the water's freezing cold. The views were amazing, but without any shade on the unusually hot day and too many jellyfish in the water, it wasn't quite the restful beach experience we were hoping for. It was a beautiful spot, but the large crowds and less than ideal conditions made it impossible to swim, and we wouldn't quite say this was a must-see. On the way home, though, we made a few pit stops. The first was at Harbor Grace to get a look at the Spirit of Harbor Grace. This plane was bought from the U.S. Air Force by a local resident, Pike, in 1977 and used to transport food and dairy until it was donated to the town in 1993. There is also a statue of Amelia Earhart standing in front of the plane. It's a charming little park on the waterfront and a great spot to stop off the highway for a quick rest. We also made another stop on the way back at the Brigus Tunnel. This tunnel was built in 1860 for Captain Abram Bartlett, so he could have easier access to unload his ships. John Hoskins, a Cornish miner, built the tunnel for Bartlett by hand, drilling holes and packing it with gunpowder to ignite. The Brigus Tunnel remains a reminder of the time when the Newfoundland fishery was strong enough to move mountains. It was a fun little stop with beautiful views. We also played in the water a bit more before heading back to our Airbnb. Tonight, Toby and I helped with dinner, making the sides while Dale barbecued the sausages. Then, most of us took an after-dinner walk down the road to see a shipwreck. The SS Charcot was a whale hunting boat built in Norway, then sold to the Polar Whale Hunting Company in 1943 before finding its way to the Hawks Harbor Whaling Company in Conception Bay. It was one of 5 whale vessels owned by Captain Johan Organ. During a storm in 1970, the ship broke its mooring and was pushed into the shores of Conception Harbor, where it remains to this day. It was pretty cool to explore, and nice that something so interesting was so close to our home away from home.
Throw like a frisbee, babe.
2.
Not you. The morning of day 5, we woke up to a foggy view and ducks quacking. Our neighbor had brought us over some food for the ducks, so Dale went out and lured them over to our side. Cooper then joined us and we fed them the rest and watched them devour it all. There was even a jellyfish dancing around below our dock. It was then time for breakfast and getting ready to set out for the day. Our first stop of the day was at Beaurain Park to visit a monument for the Girl Guides of Canada. It was a must for our family as I was a guider a long time back, and Toby is also in guides and Jen is a leader. The monument was right inside the entrance of the park, but it was a nice park, so we took a walk around to see a bit more of it. There was a large pond with ducks swimming that caught our attention before we headed back to the car to set off for our next destination.
Monday you lift your feet. Mima lift your feet. Like you're gonna try to pull up.
Our second stop was the 0-mile marker for the beginning of Terry Fox's journey across Canada. When I saw this was in the area we were going to be, I knew I had to stop, as I've also been to the ending point, and now I've been to the beginning point as well. Our next stop was the Johnson Geocenter. This was a pretty cool museum, and we learned a lot more about the formation of the Earth and how the geography of Newfoundland has evolved since that time. If you want to learn more about the environment, geography, geology, and space, this museum is for you. It had interactive elements and lots of educational elements.
Over 5 billion years ago, a rapidly spinning cloud of cosmic gas and dust collapsed in an explosion of unimaginable power. Out of this violent collision came our solar system, the sun and its planets, including our own planet, Earth. Then just a fiery ball of molten rock. Over millions of years, it cooled down. The center of the Earth, the core, remains hot to this day. Around the core of molten rock, a layer of cooler rock formed, called the mantle. Floating on top of the mantle, a third layer formed, called the crust. It is on the crust the continents formed, the oceans were formed, and the first life eventually appeared.
Bigfoot.
We were going to head up to Signal Hill next, but as we were grabbing a drink in the visitor center, it began to pour. So instead, we headed off to find lunch. We ended up at Sushi Island. It was pretty neat to have our food delivered on the little trains right beside our table. There was lots of food, and it was all quite good. Even those who do not like sushi enjoyed the dishes they were able to find on the menu for them. After lunch, we did a bit of shopping to try and find some souvenirs at a thrift shop, as this is a cheaper way to get them, but we had no luck, so we'll still have to try again another day. Cooper picked up some Japanese Pokemon cards at a game store and was super excited about those finds. We then headed back to Signal Hill. It was so neat to walk around this historic spot looking out over the city of St. John's. This is where the first transatlantic signal was received in 1901. Other than the historic significance of the site and the amazing views, there were also lots of hiking trails. We didn't have time or energy for them all, but most of us did the trail to the Ladies' Lookout, and then Toby and I went down the many steps to get a view from below. Then we had to go back up all those steps as well. It was very hot and we didn't have water, so we only did half the trail, but the challenging steps were worth it with the beautiful view we got to see at the bottom. Well, on the hill, we got to meet a Newfoundlander dog and fell in love immediately. On the way back down the hill, we made sure to stop at the statues commemorating the island's two namesake breeds.
Head north towards
Now we all want Newfoundlanders, though. That evening was just like the others, dinner and games, but we did have a treat this time. We had lots of marshmallows and cereal to get through in the next 2 days, so I turned one of the boxes into Chex Crispy Squares. The morning of day 6, we took our time getting going as we had planned a pretty relaxed final day. We headed back to Dildo in the morning as the first time we were there, we were rushed so we could get to our fishing excursion. It's a really lovely town with lots of really nice people. We walked around and grabbed a few souvenirs. Then we had to decide on lunch. We ended up heading back to Wing It, as we had seen on our previous visit that they had an all-you-can-eat wings week this week, and today was the last day. We figured have our last lunch in the same place as we had our first one. 3 of us opted into the all-you-can-eat. Round 1 for Toby. Round 1. Round 1, Dale. Round 2, Toby. Round 2, Dale. Round 2, me. Round 3, good toast?
Yep.
Round 3.
Some hot Dale.
Round 3. Toby tapping out.
3.
Third round.
Your tap.
Carrie tapping out. Round 3. Dale, still going. Round
4 feet.
Round 4. The hot ones.
Walk the duck room.
Round 4. Tagged out. We're done.
Good job.
We then headed back to our Airbnb for a rest and to get ready for our final adventures of the trip. We first stopped at the Avondale Railway Museum, which is one of the oldest existing railway stations in Newfoundland. It served as a repeater station to the first telegraph landline serving St. John's from 1870 to 1880, then as a station for freight and passengers from 1900 to 1949. During World War II, it was an important terminal for transporting men working at the American military bases in Argentina. After the war, it continued to see passengers and freight go through it until the station closed in 1984. We got to explore the station, upstairs accommodations for the station master and their family, and some of the trains themselves. We then made our way to Overfalls for a swim. This place was amazing and the perfect last adventure for our week here on this beautiful island. We were able to swim under and up to the falls and enjoy a fun and relaxing evening before packing up and leaving the next day. And it's pack up time, gets everything back in the suitcase. These compression sacks are what I use to organize and get everything in one carry-on. Oh, and my sister did all the laundry because there's a laundry machine here. So she did all our laundry today. So we're going home with clean clothes that we can take out of our suitcase and put right back in our drawers. It's awesome. Okay, so we're all set. All set. And just like that, the place looks like we were never even here. Our final day started even earlier than our first. We all piled into the car and drove towards the airport at 3:15 a.m. Our flight was leaving at 5:55 a.m. and this time everything was on time and much smoother than the day we left. Mom's new walking stick got us priority boarding even. We even got a plane with TVs this time. Anyone want to guess what I chose to watch? We arrived in Montreal with plenty of time to get to our gate, which was in the far back in what seems like a forgotten corner of the airport. Our smooth travel day started to hit some snags, as there was confusion with boarding this final flight, but we made it and took off on time for this very short ride home. It felt good to finally touch down and be so much closer to home. Our ride arrived and we packed in the car and hit the road home. It's been 5 years since I've been on a plane and traveled in this kind of way. The last few years of road tripping has changed the way I see travel and exploring. I used to think that I needed to traverse the world and go to far-off places to have adventures. But I have come to appreciate more my own country and all it has to offer. Air travel in foreign countries are exciting, but there is so much to discover closer to home as well. And Newfoundland was the place that stirred that desire for exploring Canada even more. This place is so magical and has now become my favorite province I have been to. It was the last province I had yet to visit and rose right to the top within minutes of being there. I do think the territories might give it a run for its money, but until I can go north, this is the place I want to run back to the most. We had such a great time visiting the historic sites, taking in the vast and magnificent landscapes, playing games at our amazing Airbnb, and finished the whole week by swimming under a waterfall. We only scratched the surface of the things to do here, but that's okay because we will one day be back to see even more.